Hello, trail travelers. It is Carrie, and we are here with Optimus at the Edge 4x4 Automotive here in Denver. And we are going to have some work done today. We are having an Apex power steering boost kit installed. Now, what this should do is help us when we're off-roading to give us more power to the power steering, especially when the front axle is locked. If you know, it can be very difficult to turn the steering wheel when the front tires are locked or with the front axle is locked. It's very difficult to turn, and having more power to the power steering should help. So let's get inside, let's look at the kit, and let's watch the install. All right, we are in the shop here, and I'm going to show you the parts and pieces of this Apex kit so you can kind of get an understanding of what's going on and how this thing is going to work. Just to kind of give you a little background of why we're doing this, and it's just to give us more control of the steering when we're off-road. And while I've never really well, no, that's not true. I've complained a few times for sure when it's locked and we're trying to turn and you just can't really get the steering wheel to go sometimes. But I've always dealt with it. But with Katarina, she can struggle sometimes. So some of this is for me for sure, but it's also for her to make driving the Jeep a bit easier. So let's take a look at the components. So one interesting feature is it comes with an oil cooler for the power steering fluid. So this is going to be super important. Now, a lot of people that we've wheeled with JLs have experienced power steering overheating issues. We've never had that, but we've seen it with the 392, we've seen it with 2.0s, we've seen it with 3.6s. They've all experienced power steering overheating. And at that point, you have to stop and let it cool down. Having a cooler for the power steering, super cool that it includes this with the kit. And because we're going to be running it at a higher pressure, it's even more important to keep that cool. Now, moving over to the other section here, we have the main unit itself. And this just basically plugs into the power steering pump and allows it to run at a higher pressure. And the gauge here tells you what pressure you're running at. So you can see it and adjust it. Now, sure, you can run it at 2000 PSI, you can run it at 2200 PSI, but you're getting into some danger zone there that you really shouldn't. We're going to run probably in the mid-range of the green. So try and keep it nice and safe, probably around 1700 PSI. Make sure that we're not overheating components, that we're not putting too much stress on things. But what that's going to allow us to do is if we're in a tight situation and we're really struggling on a trail, I can get underneath and with a 5 mil Allen wrench, I can give it a quarter turn, half a turn, and bump the pressure up a little bit more to give us more steering. And then I can come back and turn it back down into a safer mode. So pretty cool that it's adjustable in the field and you have a gauge to make sure that you're not overpressurizing it. So that's the Apex power steering boost kit. Should take about 2.5 to 3 hours to get installed. We got to get the oil cooler on underneath. We got to get the piece installed into the power steering pump, which means we probably need to take off the passenger side inner fender liner. To get to that, we'll take care of that and get that. Now I've disconnected the auxiliary battery. I haven't been using the auxiliary battery in a while. So while we have that off, if I remember, I'm going to pull that battery out, save a little bit of weight. And we're actually going to do a flush and fill on the diffs because it's been a year. And it's one of those yearly things that we do is refresh the oil in the diffs. So Jesse's going to get started on it in just a minute. And we'll see what it takes to install this kit. But I know it's something I didn't want to do myself. What are we starting with? It's kind of a tear down of the top end?
Yep, so with this kit, you have to notch some brackets just because with the tap in for your pressure gauge, it raises that whole line up. And there's a metal bracket down here that is actually kind of part of the housing for this. So you have to kind of trim around that, just that way you don't have any rev points on your hard line.
So that's going to be the first step.
No. So first step is basically just taking this apart, and then I'll actually start in on everything and really look to where the line is wanting to hit, because they give you kind of a general idea on what to cut. But what I've noticed in the past, just with the different engine configurations and things like that, that's not always accurate. So once I get this all apart, then I can see exactly where the line wants to sit with the new bracket, and then we'll notch it from there.
Because it's not just a JL. There's differences with the 2.0s, the 3.6s, the 392s.
Absolutely,
they're all different.
Yep, they are, and it's funny because it's like the pumps are generally all the same, but the clocking of the pump is different, like 392 versus yours. So with that, sometimes that line comes out and it's like, oh, cool, I don't need to clearance anything. Or sometimes it's like, I got to clearance way more than what they're suggesting. So rather than just do that initial clearance and then it's not right, or I have to clearance more, I always just kind of get everything torn apart, start putting the new parts on and see where it's going to hit. And then I do my clearance from there.
Of course, I'm bringing it to a shop. Is that recommended? Or is this kind of, can most people do it themselves, or a pretty skilled person could?
Most people can do it themselves. The problem is with this system, there's a little tiny valve that when you're undoing everything, that valve can drop and then go missing. It's
not a good
not
thing.
Magnetic. And so if that happens and you can't find it, you have to go buy a new pump. You can't get that valve by itself.
Oof.
You need a whole new pump, and you can try again. So I always recommend, obviously, bringing it to a shop or something like that, because then it's not stuck in your driveway.
It's somebody
like
else's problem.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that means it's my problem. But with something like this where you're actually modifying a factory part, I recommend giving it to somebody that's done it before, rather than just jumping in. We've seen a couple people where they do this setup. They don't have their pressure adjusted properly and fire it up and go full lock and then blow the pump. And it's like,
that's not good.
No, that's not good.
That's not good at all.
That's not good at all. Because then again, new pump.
All right, we have got the cooler installed, and look at that. Look how clean this looks. Nice low shot here. Look at that. Very clean. Just goes onto 2 brackets up there. You can kind of see them up there. We're tied in to the lines, and now we're getting ready to do the final part of the install, which is getting that valve piece installed on the power steering pump. So we're making some good progress, moving right along. Now, what I did not want to do was make this a how to install one of these videos. There are several of those out there. They're all really good. The instructions are very good, but we wanted to kind of show you the key components, where they go, how it looks, and more importantly, how it's going to end up working when we're all done. But if you want to see exactly how to install one, there's definitely some good videos out there. We just wanted to cover the highlights and make sure you saw what was kind of involved in doing it without going into complete detail. So next up, we got to do some more work up on top, and we're going to get this thing going. So looking forward to trying this thing out. So there's the new block there for the kit attached to the power steering pump, and fits into that notch that he cut there. So everything is looking good right now. Next step is going to be to install the gauge so we can figure out where we're at and get it adjusted right. You should be able to see that Allen up there. It's the only thing that looks clean on here. So that's how you adjust the pressure. You're going to just do a quarter turn one way or the other to adjust it up or down. And to adjust it, you take the steering wheel and go full lock. If you're not in full lock and putting pressure on it, you're not going to see a reading on the gauge. So full lock and make your adjustments. So once we get her back down, we'll get the fluids topped and we'll get her adjusted. We're almost done. We've got everything buttoned up here except for the top end here, which is just topping off the fluids and putting the airbox back on. And we should be good to go to get it all adjusted and dialed in. So almost there. Now we've taken probably a little bit longer than normal, about 3.5 hours to do the job, but we're chit-chatting, we're filming and stuff, so probably took a little longer than it normally would if I left him by himself to just get the job done. So moving right along, almost ready. Cannot wait to see what this thing feels like on-road and off-road.
Fire up. Full lock. Okay.
So the big question is, was it worth it? But before I answer that question, I want to point out that I have no relationship with Apex Designs. I've never spoken to anyone in marketing over there. I did not get any discount on this. I paid full price for it and paid for the Edge 4x4 Automotive to install it. So paid full price, no discounts from Apex. So this is a completely unbiased review of the power steering boost kit. So let's get into it. What do I like about it? Well, on the road, on the highway, it feels solid. It feels really solid. There's less like little wavering. It just feels tighter. It's a good feel. You feel more confident at higher speeds. That feels good. When it comes to a parking lot, when you're on asphalt, you can really feel the difference there. You can make super sharp turns with just one finger, lock to lock. There's no of that pulling on it, especially when you're running 38-inch tires. Man, that was really difficult to turn the steering wheel. Now, lock to lock, no problem at all. Off-road, handles great. We've been in snow, we've been in rocks, we've been in desert conditions, we've been all over, and it handles beautifully. You just have so much more control. When you have the lockers on, when you have the front lockers on, you can steer. You don't feel like it's all bound up. There was one point that we were on a trail and it was 20 minutes later that I realized I still had the front lockers on because it was just so easy to turn. So I think it's a wonderful upgrade. Now, one thing I want to kind of point the difference out between going with this and going with a hydraulic ram system like a PSC is this feels like a stock Jeep should. A PSC feels very different. On a hydraulic system, you turn the wheel, like you're going into a turn, you turn the wheel, you have to counter steer to bring the wheels back to center. They're not just gonna come back easy. They're gonna hold really solid. That's what it's really good at. This feels like it should. It recenters perfectly fine. It acts normal. It's a mod that not only dramatically improves your driving experience, but you also forget that you even did a mod. It's one of those things. You just don't realize it's there, but you have a much better driving experience. Should you do it yourself or should you have a shop do it? You know, that's really up to you. It's not that hard of a job. There can be a few little gotchas here and there. There's a little pin you don't want to lose. You might have to do some cutting of the air box. There's some things like that. You've got to have all the right tools to do it right. And while I own all the tools, I just felt more comfortable taking it to someone who I trusted, who has done a lot of them, and I was very confident in their ability to do it right. What are you going to pay? Well, all in with the kit and installation, you're going to probably pay between $850 to $950, maybe $1,000. The variance is going to be what the shop rate is at the place you go to and their experience doing it. If you go to a shop and this is their first or second one, it's probably going to take them a little bit longer to do it. If you go to a shop like I did, the Edge, who's done dozens of them. I mean, I'm probably their 25th or 30th customer to have this done. They have it down to a science. They were able to knock it out really fast. That saved some money in the long run. So, is it worth it? To me, absolutely. I highly recommend it. If you're running larger tires on a Jeep, to me, there's no question. This is a mod that is going to really, really improve your driving experience. So I'll put a link in the description below. Again, I have no affiliation with Apex Design. I have no affiliate links with them, nothing. So if you buy it, you buy it. I get nothing. That's fine. You know what? I just love products that work. And this product works. I can't say enough about it. I'm very, very happy I did it, and I highly recommend it for anybody with a JL that's got larger tires on it. So thanks for watching, everybody. From myself and Katerina, Lucas staring out the window there, be safe out there. We'll see you on the trails.